All right. Um, Welcome in, folks. Just I'm going to be uploading this on both of my Banana Plays and Banana Swoga channels. This is going to be my reflection thought video for going. I probably should have done this like a week ago, but I don't think I was. Obviously I wasn't here a week ago, so if I would have done this a week ago, it would have had been about half of what it is today. But been through a lot of upheaval. I think I was really down in the dumps Wednesday. It was a really bad day, just in terms of stress. And I went to work that night, and I was earnest in prayer. And this is usually how weeks work. I'm not always super stressed on Wednesday, but this particular Wednesday, which would have been the 1st of July, I guess, it was like a super dark day. It just everything hit. Um, and there are things that you probably would think are not that big a deal. They're doing construction in front of our house. They left the forks from the whatever piece of equipment in front of our driveway for a portion of time where I was really concerned that we weren't going to be able to get out because they left these forks in the driveway. Um, the kids were not particularly great Wednesday. So much to the point where it's like, if you guys are just going to beat the crap out of each other, let's just do it and get it over with, so we can move on with our life. And I'm not gonna say the heat wasn't a factor because it kind of was, but it wasn't. We didn't go outside a lot. It's just another thing that caused a little bit of uncomfortability. So it does add stress. And there were some other things um, that I was just struggling with as an introvert. You might be like, if you're an introvert, why are you doing this video? Well, it is what it is. Um, but I went to work and I was praying that night, and I listened to an episode of Live Free, which I will link in the comments or in the bio or maybe put on screen. We'll see. But it was powerful. And it's the episode of Live Free for the 250th anniversary of this country of America with special guest Tim Barton. If you don't know who Tim Barton is, he is David Barton's son, which I know you're like, who's David Barton? David Barton is a historian. They're both historians, father and son. They have written two books, which I have downstairs, and totally was not anticipate recording this, or else I would have brought it up. But um, two story books. All you have to do is go on Amazon or wherever and look for Tim Barton, Barton, or David Barton, Barton, obviously. And they wrote a 2 volume set on America's history. And in there, they use original sources. They tell the stories. They paint the pictures, and they're powerful. And Josh had him on because he read this book, and he was on previously earlier this year. Tim was, and they went some over this, and then Josh had him back for the 250th. And this whole episode blew my mind because I didn't know most of this. And in the episode, Josh Howerton's like, How do I not know this? I went to public school and I was not taught this, and it's like, well, if you control the story, if you control the history, then you control the narrative of history, and you control what people think going forward, and that's so true. There's a reason why we know people like Charles Spurgeon. We know the name Jonathan Edwards, John John Wesley, and what is his brother's name? Charles, John and Charles Wesley, yeah. Uh, John Whitfield, Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, St. Nicholas, despite who a lot of people think is. And if you don't know the real history of Saint Nicholas, the actual Saint Nicholas, I implore you to go look it up because he was a real guy. He's not the the guy that we talk to our kids about at Christmas time. Um, but these are notable guys who did notable things for a reason, and he England could have evolved up much faster if it weren't for Wesley and Spurgeon. And America could be a totally different place if it weren't for Wesley, Whitfield, Jonathan Edwards, and some others. And it's just really powerful that we take that we take. It's just really important that we take stock of where we are in this country, and we make it decisions that might be uncomfortable, but that we realize that are important because of what Jesus says in Matthew 22, where it's like, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and then love your neighbor as yourself. God wants you to know history. He talks about, I mean, it's a history book. It's a history of Israel. It's a history of people. Um, and it's what you're supposed to do in life. They talk about borders. They talk about uh, everything that's in there. It tells you it's important. And I feel like a lot of people are just, and I know we live in this era of comfort and convenience, and that's just another what means of control. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm not affected by all that. I mean, if you know me, you know that I'm not a um, fit person. I'm overweight. I admit that. I don't enjoy that. Um, and a lot of that is result of stress eating, circumstances, everything. And, you know, we've taken on children, and that was a choice. And every day I can walk away from that. But the fact is, I'm doing it because God told us to do it. I'm doing it because they need a dad. They need a family. And if I don't, somebody else will. But I have said, God, here I am. Use me where you will. And we're going to keep fostering until God tells me not to. That's how I feel about it. I don't have a number of children. I don't have a certain number, like two, three, four. It's like whatever whatever the number is that God wants to give me, that He's going to entrust to me, I'm going to keep doing that because they're not my kids. This is not my house. This is not my computer. That's the reason I'm doing this video. This is not, all this is stuff that God lets me have. And this is the platform that He's given me. And I don't know how many it's going to reach. I don't know if anybody's going to see it, but I hope it affects somebody. Life is not about you. It's about worshiping God. It's about telling people about Jesus. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good, because it should. It should make you uncomfortable. I hope I made sense until I lost my train of thought. Um, but yeah, just consider what it is you need to do that is potentially uncomfortable, inconvenient, you can't control it. It may not be safe, and people are going to look at you funny. If people don't think you're weird, people don't think you're crazy, um, just look at Jesus. There's a reason they crucified him. And I'm not saying they're going to crucify you, but you don't have to worry about men. Because there's only so much men can do to you. You need to fear the one who can do far worse to you than men can. Anyway, God bless. Happy 4th. Celebrate America's 250. It only comes around once in a lifetime. Make the best of it. God bless. See you next time. Bye.